Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gills, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure?
It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. I'm Heath. I will be your host this morning. Yes, I'm here. It's Wednesday and I'm here. And it's because, well, we didn't do a whole 6 hours on Table Talk last night. But, I guess I should bring that up. Well, let's see. If you didn't, I think many of you were probably here, but if you are watching this on replay, if you're looking for Ahsoka, if you're looking for Ahsoka and you were here, I should bring up what we did yesterday. Last night, we did Table Talk. Let's see. I need to turn that private on this channel. I didn't do that last night. Just thinking about that now. But let's see. Table Talk. And oh, I went to the wrong place. Welcome to Table Talk, the place for deep. All right. So we did world building last night. Brianna and Doug were with me last night, and we talked about world building over on the Table Talk channel. I would love for you to be over there with us. here's the live stream right there. You see on past live streams, that one right there. World building. Doug's got his new headshot there. World building for storytelling. But we also talked about it. We talked about world building for many different things. We talked about world building for story, for RPGs, for stories as far as movies go and TV shows go, but also as far as novels go. So there was a lot there. So if you if you watch over there, if you didn't and would like to come in and see Table Talk on world building last night, and it was only a 4-hour stream, right? It was not even quite 4 hours. So yeah, I was able to actually sleep last night and then get here this morning because of that. And I even watched Ahsoka after that because it's difficult for me to get right to sleep after a Table Talk. And Doug said he was going to go watch the finale of Ahsoka. So we might have to talk about that. We might have to do a Table Talk on that as a post-mortem, as Doug said. We will see. It was a shorter one. It was shorter. So good morning, James. Good morning, PH. Good morning. PH says there was Table Talk, Ahsoka, and also a DC-20 Q&A yesterday. See, I have not. So we need to take a look at that. I have not gotten into it, but I need to. Let me see. Let me make note of that. I need to check out because I got the email and we talked about that it was out. To check out the DC-20 Q&A. And maybe pick up the documents so that we can take a look at it. When it goes live on Kickstarter, I'm wondering if he would like to come on Table Talk, if the Dungeon Coach would like to come on Table Talk. Hey, Brett. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Zero the Blade. Let's see. Let's see. All right. I'm seeing some stuff about Ahsoka here, so I'm going to star those. Let's Multiverse DM says regarding the DC says is a 3-day grind to cover the core system, but good design. I really hope it is. I was enjoying his design philosophy, so I really hope it is. So we do need to look at it. I need to take a break from role playing games because we did like 200 of them straight or something. But that's good. I want variety on the show anyway. But we need to we've got some other ones to still look at, including his. Let's go over here then. Let's do our morning reading. I got coffee this morning. I've got Cultist coffee this morning. So I got Cultist coffee. Let's take care of our mental health this morning and then do a reading from the War of Art so that we can encourage everyone to send out, encourage everyone to do their creativity, their creative work, and become everything they can be. Last night, immediately after Table Talk, I exported the Christmas story. Because it was ready right before Table Talk last night. I had read through it again out loud and had it ready to send out. Oh, no announcement of the Discord this morning? Oh, no, I bet I forgot about that. Hang on. I'll put that in the Discord. Thank you for the reminder, Sable. Let me drop it in the Discord right now. Here's the link. We're live. Sorry, overlooked that. My fault. Sable says such a fun Table Talk last night. I saw that and I didn't. So we didn't talk about. You guys brought up non-lethal combat last night. There's a relatively newer setting in 5e. Oh, it's a setting, Bran Colonia, that has an incredible tone and style with a brawling non-lethal combat system. Maybe cover it when you feel like getting back to RPGs. Maybe so. Let me. I'll just make a note of that here. Look up. But we'll do our reading here so that we remember. Remember our creativity. But I did send Doug and Brianna a copy of the complete Christmas story yesterday, and my aunt as well, and my brother for reading, so they can get back to me Today, I'm going to do nothing but take care of administration work. I started doing that yesterday, paying bills. So you're glad to know I did pay my power bill, so that if the power goes out, well, it's not because I didn't pay my bill. So you know that. Like, oh, he forgot to pay the power. Why aren't we doing the morning grind? Oh, it's because I forgot to pay my power bill. I was so involved in writing things. So today, because I sent that out, I'm going to completely break from all of that and clean house and pay bills and take care of things that have to be done around here, and then be back into creativity tomorrow. Although today at 4 o'clock, Brianna and I'm getting back with Brianna to talk about Dark Goddess. So Brand Colonia is a heavy Italian setting for 5e that evokes the tone of a certain style of 80s Italian fantasy film, essentially spaghetti fantasy. Huh. Oh, it's based on Italian myth and history, and it's very tongue-in-cheek. Huh. I've seen, okay. So, all right. So, okay, that's really popular around here. So we should have to take a look at that. Yeah. Oh, so Brianna sent James a copy of the script. So Dark Goddess yesterday, and I'm getting into that this afternoon. I read through and I found a plot. I'm really interested to know what other people think. I hope that she will share with people's permission with me, because that helps me learn as well. Because I like, for instance, I'd be really interested to know what Doug finds and what Doug sees that I also saw. So where does our commentary overlap? And then what does he see that I didn't, or what does he not think is an issue that I did? I found a plot hole in the script the other day. Brianna said, I can't believe that plot hole has endured until then. And I found it. She was like, I've been thinking about that all afternoon. How to fix it. Then it's Faraway Bird all the way down. I got to get Faraway Bird coming in here. I got this Brianna's book, City of Reckoning. I've got this here. I was trying to wait. I was waiting to get a hard copy, but it's taken. She doesn't have hard copies. It's just a soft copy. But look at this. This is a brick of a book right here. This is Brianna's first novel, like 760 pages. So 780 pages. So we're going to do some books on Table Talk. We're going to take a look at City of Reckoning. We're going to take a look at Faraway Bird. We're going to take a look at one of Cameron's books, the Mother of God. I think it is the Mother, or is it the Mother of? I don't remember the Mother book. I've got it coming in, so there's going to be a lot of reading that also has got to be done. Especially, there's a lot of reading that's got to be done, especially when you've got books like this that Brianna writes. All right, so let's breathe and sip, and then do our reading here. Getting things done. Feel like things are happening now. I feel like getting that the Christmas Story script off the ground and out to beta readers. Beta readers was a big thing. Oh, it says I'm syncing files here. Let me pause that in Dropbox. All right, 2 deep breaths, complete inhales, complete exhales, and deep inhales, complete exhales. That's the way it goes. I can never get that right. And then take a sip of your favorite beverage. So here we go. And sip. Yeah, I got more and more excited about reading Faraway Bird with Doug talking about the world building last night. Faraway Bird is Doug's book in the set in the Byzantine Empire. So he was talking about world building, which is not something I would have thought of probably. He was talking about world building even in a historical novel, because you got to set the tone for the Byzantine Empire. So we had just talked about resistance and the choice of a mate. And resistance is everything that keeps you from being everything that you should be, and especially creating your creative projects. Resistance is everything that stands in the way. So resistance and this book. This is by Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art. When I began this book, resistance almost beat me. This was the form it took. It told me, the voice in my head, that I was a writer of fiction, not nonfiction, and that I shouldn't be exposing these concepts of resistance literally and overtly. Rather, I should incorporate them metaphysically into a novel. That's a pretty damn subtle and convincing argument. The rationalization resistance presented me with was one that I should write, say, a war piece in which the principles of resistance were expressed as the fear a warrior feels. Resistance also told me I shouldn't seek to instruct or put myself forward as a purveyor of wisdom, that this was vain, egotistical, possibly even corrupt, and that it would work harm for me in the end. That scared me. It made a lot of sense. What finally convinced me to go ahead was simply that I was so unhappy not going ahead. I was developing symptoms. As soon as I sat down to write, I was okay. Let's see. Resistance and unhappiness. What does resistance feel like? First, unhappiness. We feel like hell. A low-grade misery pervades everything. We're bored. We're restless. We can't get no satisfaction. There's guilt, but we can't put our finger on the source. We want to get back to bed. We want to get up and party. We feel unloved and unlovable. We're disgusted. We hate our lives. We hate ourselves. Unalleviated resistance mounts to a pitch that becomes unendurable. At this point, vices kick in: dope, adultery, web surfing. Beyond that, resistance becomes clinical: depression, aggression, dysfunction, then actual crime and physical self-destruction. Sounds like life, I know. It isn't. It's resistance. What makes it tricky is that we live in a consumer culture that's acutely aware of this unhappiness and has massed all its profit-seeking artillery to exploit it by selling us a product, a drug, a distraction. John Lennon once wrote, "Well, you think you're classless and free?" What is... Well, what's up here? Ah! Let me try reopening. Okay. Brief interruption. Well, you think you're clever and classless and free, but you're all fucking peasants as far as I can see. So artists and professionals, it's our obligation to enact art. So as artists and professionals, it's our obligation to enact our own internal revolution, a private insurrection inside our skulls. In this uprising, we free ourselves from the tyranny of consumer culture. We overthrow the programming of advertising, movies, video games, magazines, TV, and MTV, by which we have been hypnotized from the cradle. We unplug ourselves from the grid by recognizing that we will never cure our restlessness by contributing our disposable income to the bottom line of Bullshit Inc., but only by doing our work. All right, there we go. So what the Rolling Stones were saying is that they are experiencing resistance. You're talking about the world building notes? Yeah, that was great. I had no idea where he was going. Oh, we can't see the book now? Oh. I wonder why sometimes my screen sharing works and sometimes it doesn't, because it looked like it was working to me. But yes, do your work. All right, do your work. The important thing is that the work gets done. Minor technical problems shouldn't stop us from doing the work. On the subject of there are two movies called Braccoloni at the Crusades and L'Armata Braccoloni. I watched it when I was a teen and found them really funny. Branca, 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 Leon, 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 Leon? Huh. The Church of Heath has only one commandment. Commandment the first: do your work. Get your work done. Yes, I feel so much better. Like, I feel so much better having gotten that Christmas story done. Or out for a beta reading. I want to see all those products and books and products lined up right over there. It's actually, you can't see it on screen. I'll have to move them eventually so it's on screen. But I got a place where right now only Goodnight Sword is sitting. So there we go. That's what I want to get done. All right, so let's talk. We may not go long today because we did have last night. But I want to talk a little bit about Ahsoka. So I started a couple of things that people had said about Ahsoka. And I thought that there might be a few things in Drake's brutal writing advice here, dynamic story creation, that could help us try to understand. Because I was not overall very impressed with Ahsoka. I kept forgetting what was in episodes. Like, I watched them, and now one of the things, like, after trying to watch one after one of the long table talks, when I'm tired anyway but can't sleep, isn't exactly the best time to be watching the show. But even that aside, and trying to go back and watch again, like, there were times when I could not even remember what was in Ahsoka. PH Arbeck says, I really liked, but it seems, I'm trying to decide how popular it is, because some people go, no, it's just a bomb, it's a tank, nobody's watching. Other people are talking about some numbers from stream. I haven't dug into that deeply, but some numbers from streaming services and the streaming service, and it did do well, and that's why there's going to be a second season. The second season of Ahsoka has already been ordered, so that sounds like okay, it must have done what somebody was looking for and connected with some people. And it's important to understand why it's connecting with some people, even if it didn't particularly connect with you or me. And it might have connected with you. That's why it just didn't connect with me. I'm just saying that it's important to look at, okay, well, here's one that I personally didn't care anything about and probably would not have watched it if Ahsoka wasn't Doug's favorite character and wanted to talk about it on Table Talk, which actually I think we had fantastic discussions on Table Talk. And it's good to occasionally talk about timely things. We talk about the timeless things like world building, but sometimes it's also good to go ahead and talk about the timely things. I guess that way you can get a TikTok of Doug talking about the erasure of the sequel trilogy in the or potential, and Ahsoka using the world between worlds, and he can get 75,000 views on TikTok when he does it. So I guess that's an advantage. But PH Arbex says, I really like the actor who played Ezra. I agree with that. Now, I'm not as familiar with the character from the cartoons. It was good that I had not seen Clone Wars or Rebels in a long time, and I don't think that I finished them. I watched some of them, so I understood a little bit, but it was a long time ago. It was good that I was coming at it from the perspective of somebody who really was not familiar with those. So I don't remember the character as much, but I did also like him. He seemed to look pretty good and play this role pretty well. But I was disappointed with his power level. I think he was nerfed compared to the animations. Oh, I expected him to be even more powerful. Okay, see, that's something I can't speak to. I wanted more of them. Zero the Blade says, from what I heard, the ending could have been better. Well, I think so. It didn't really have... of course, I mean, I guess this will have to be something that would have spoilers in it and things like that. But I would say we did not lead to any type of climax. We didn't lead to... any big climax. I mean, yes, there's lightsaber battles at the end and things. And it did do a couple of things that were surprising when I was watching in the final episode, but it wasn't something that it's not like anything that was like we were building to something and boy, that was so gripping and it showed it to you and you're like, wow, so that's where we were going here. We didn't have that. So I was wrong when I thought a while back ago that oh no, that Thrawn's not going to show up until the last episode. Okay, that wasn't true. Thrawn was in like the last 3 episodes, so he did show up early. Cameron had said no. Filoni likes to do the big penultimate episode, so he might appear then in the second to last episode. He went ahead and did bring him in earlier, but I didn't think that Thrawn was all he could have been. I guess that's a good way to put it. Doug had a much better way for Thrawn to enter and for this to be about than what this was. Sable says, I still refuse to watch it, but I've been following reviews of it just because of Doug's input. It sounds like they screwed the portrayal of Thrawn up badly. Yeah, now physically I would have done him differently. I did see, so yeah, he wasn't sufficiently physically threatening. Now he was imposing because he was cold and calculating. And at one time I thought, okay, we're really overdoing that. Now he really needs, because he was very slow and methodical. But then again, a lot of the characters in that show are, we talked about that, how they're all very stoic and the same. And of course, Thrawn is that to an extreme. That would have been no problem had you not also seen that in a whole bunch of other characters. Thrawn is that to an extreme. He does it well. But then even toward the end, like they were worried about like the time. They're like in order to get off the planet and do things. And it was time for Thrawn to hustle. I was like, let's Thrawn, let's get going here. And he never really does. Aren't there a couple of films too? There might have been. There was as Doug was saying, a start of the whole was, I guess that was, no, I guess it was the Clone Wars that started with a movie that wasn't any good. And I remember that being out now. I meant to bring up some notes so that I could put that up. Just in case I need to type some notes to get my thoughts here if we go to do table talk. Where'd my window go? Here we go. Ahsoka notes. I don't know if there were two films or not. I remember that, though. I remember like looking at a movie theater and seeing something like Star Wars, that like the billboard. Its marketing had completely escaped me. The billboard or the big sign on top of the movie theater, and it said Star Wars: The Clone Wars or something like that. And I was like, wait, what is that? There's a Star Wars movie out? And then I looked it up, and it was the cartoon animation. And I was like, okay, well, that's weird. And so I didn't go see it. But I was like, a Star Wars movie? How did I miss there was a Star Wars movie? And well, there might be films coming. See, this is the, and I don't have all the information on this, but somebody said that one of the films that was going to be coming, so this is not already done, but is going to be coming, was it going to be about Thrawn. So this is all about the introduction of Thrawn. So I was like, oh, well, that's why one of the reasons I thought, oh, if they're trying to lead up into marketing this movie, then maybe this TV show is basically just marketing for this movie to lead you up to introduce Thrawn and go, boom, now don't you want to see what happens? You got to go see the movie. So that could be the case, that this is leading toward, but there is another Ahsoka season 2, so I don't know what they're going to do. But still, there were things going on in this last episode that I felt like should be happening in like the second episode. And we do have a situation that I tend to be very conscious of now when I'm reading some type of story is, and I forget exactly where this rule comes from, but it's basically, the rule is basically that you need to have introduced everything that you need in order to complete your story by halfway through. So everything that you need needs to get introduced halfway through. And you can't start adding things at the end of your story. And I think that's true. I really noticed that when you're reading along the story and then you get into well into Act 2, like the second half of Act 2 or deeper, or especially into Act 3, and then there are things that come up that you've never heard about that either are obstacles that you're going to have to overcome, which I think is when the movie or a book or a TV show or whatever starts to feel long. There may be other reasons why something would feel long, but that may be one of them too. I was reading a Reddit thread the other day about movies that you thought were going to end, but then continued going much longer than you thought. And so I thought it was an interesting read through because the same movies kept coming up over and over again, like Avatar, for instance. But I thought that was interesting. I thought one of the reasons that might happen is when, especially, there's an obstacle that, hey, we're going along and we think we're going to this arc. And then all of a sudden, what happens that's thrown in is an obstacle that's thrown in that nobody knew about. And so you're like, why are we doing this? All of a sudden, we're 3/4 of the way through this movie or 80% of the way through this movie or whatever. And something new is thrown at us that we've got to go and handle that was not part of any of the setup of the movie. That might be when it feels long. And that was still going on in this last episode of Ahsoka. We had things introduced and also things that could potentially, so if it's an obstacle, it might make the story feel long. If it's something that that helps someone, then it may feel unearned. And so there was a reward. One of the witches, or the main witch character in Ahsoka, gets rewarded by, I forget what they called it, some magic spell that's something darkness or something shadows, of course, something like that. And it could be in there because, like I said, I had forgotten a lot of what had gone on in the show, but I was like, I have no idea what that is. They were clearly trying to portray a lot of gravitas with that. Like, oh, now are you ready to undertake the whatever ritual? And oh, yes, what an honor and what, but we never knew what that was as the audience. And if I did, I don't remember. And if I don't remember, that's a problem anyway with the story. So this comes up that she should have been talking about, if this is some kind of great honor of the witches or whatever that is, that should have been set up and talked about in the earlier episodes, so that you knew what was going on. It doesn't just come out of nowhere at the end of this, and then it ended up not really mattering anyway. So, it's kind of weird, because I was thinking that Ahsoka, it's not entirely episodic. It's not entirely episodic, like the way Star Trek: The Next Generation was. Obviously, it's trying to tell you one continuous story across all of the episodes. But on the other hand, it's not really, it's telling you a chain of events. And the chain of events thinking is what I was thinking, why I picked up this book, because we were saying sequence of events are not story. And Ahsoka seemed like, to me, a sequence of events. Some people will like that. And if you have enough diehard fans, I think it works. Because if you say, hey, here's a section of the world building perspective, if enough people are invested in your world, then they will, then they'll want to see a series of events about something. But on the other hand, if you don't have that and people are not as interested in the world, then you got to hook them with story. And I don't think this one did this. James says, I've heard the same thing about Thrawn. You need to go boldly in order to do him justice. I wouldn't call Disney or Star Wars bold these days ago. Yeah, physically, he has a dad bod. This was a weird choice for him. Because he doesn't look, that was what I was talking about. He doesn't look physically imposing. I saw somebody online who had said they were trying to make him look like Goring. And that could be true. That was just somebody on Reddit who said that, or it was Reddit or Twitter or something, whatever, social media. I went, oh no, they were trying to make Thrawn look like Goring. Well, that could have been it. That could have been a deliberate choice there. But if that was the case, that was a weird choice. They should have, if they were trying to do that deliberately, that was a weird choice. He should have been much more physically imposing. Right. It was not. Yeah. And I said it could have been just because they wanted the actor, but then they needed to fix that, because it didn't work for how Thrawn was supposed to come across. Hi, Charlie. Good morning, Charlie. James says, I saw the original animated Clone Wars in theaters. It was entertaining enough, but it wasn't good. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Multiverse DM. Sometimes too much change is bad. For example, Strahd, use Homer's Odyssey and eliminate the he said, she said problem in the story. Society takes the blame. He's supposed to be a master strategist and tactician, but his actions and his supposed plan are nonsensical from what I could tell. Again, just watching reviews, I probably missed some things, but just in summary, the character doesn't seem highly intelligent, nor proactive. He spent 10 years on a planet hunting a single Jedi this whole time. Right. And then lets them go without any preparation. That's not Thrawn. Yeah, so I think, yes, he was supposed to be hunting Ezra on the planet. And Ezra was hanging out with some crabs during the whole time but on the other hand, they bring in, he's on a different galaxy, and so they're going to find him. The witches are going to find him, and of course, Ahsoka and her crew are following on. But he says that, they're in another galaxy. There's only one way to get back. Get on this ring, the hyperspace ring. Which of course goes around a Star Destroyer to bring Thrawn back. But Thrawn even says that, hey, it really doesn't matter if these Jedi die, if we kill them, or if they're just stranded here on the planet forever. And I was like, that's right, because then they'll be in another galaxy forever. You'll be back in the main Star Wars galaxy. Why does it matter if you go and kill all these and try to kill these people? They're over there. You need to hurry. That's what I was talking about. There was no hurrying, but you need to hurry. Go ahead and get off the planet, jump into hyperspace, and just leave them stranded. But there was a lot of attention, halfway attention paid to still trying to figure out what's going on with them. And even Shin and Balon's skull, I was like, what? Why bother going out and trying to kill them if you can just maroon them? PH says, if the movie is not produced by Kathleen Kennedy, I'm willing to watch it. Oh, I love this book. This is one of my favorite writing books. Of course, the writer's journey is over here, but early on, the other one I recommend, The Secrets of Story by Matt Bird, and then the Drake's Brutal Writing Advice. I love this book. I saw Drake. He goes by Drake. Maxwell Alexander Drake. He goes by Drake. I saw Drake give a presentation at Gen Con, the Gen Con Writers Symposium, and I thought it was fantastic. And so I immediately went over here and bought his book, over to his booth, and wrote his book. So Ahsoka is a sequence of events. It's whispered that the reason Anakin kills the younglings in the Jedi Temple is because he remembered how insufferable Ahsoka was in the Clone Wars movie, and he had never dealt with his rage. By the way, I got the writer's journey. It's a bit of a brick itself. Probably will take me a while. Yes, it is. And, I actually have not, I don't think I have read all of it. It's probably time to return to it. But I had been reading through that book in the sections as I had been coming to sections of story, then going and reading that particular section and coming back, taking notes and then applying lessons and going back. He's brought it up several times. I own one of the volumes, but I'm all booked up on reading at the moment. He has a lot of reading to do. He seems really to love them. Yeah, for how often he refers to them. I do. The blade of Talzin is a force-imbued blade made with indestructible metal, connected to the force through spiritual means. Is that what the witch gets? Probably. Yeah, the blade, and she picks this up. That's probably what you're talking about. Because I was like, oh, is this the Talzin sword? Yeah, I was like, oh, so this is like the new Darksaber for this. A flaming green Ichor sword was summoned from the ether by the Ninth Sister Matriarch Mother Talzin to duel Jedi Master Mace Windu during the Clone Wars. Okay, so it appeared in the Clone Wars. Okay, so I didn't know that. So everybody's got their special sword, right? So we've got the Darksaber for the Mandalorians. We got the lightsabers, of course, for the Jedi. And now we have the blade of Talzin. Or the Ninth Sisters. Well, okay, so I was going to say, Sable says the Star Wars galaxy is already big enough and with wild enough and uncharted places to tell plenty of stories about. Why even they have to move to another galaxy? I'm not sure, because I think that was underused anyway. It didn't look very different. It was just another planet. So if you're going to move to another galaxy, I think you have to physically represent that differently. And they didn't. It was just another planet. I think that was weak. If you're going to another galaxy, you need to make where they're going different, and they did not. You need a good reason, and you need to make it and go ahead and take advantage of doing it visually. Yeah, this one needs to be. It could have just been another planet that's very difficult to get to or something. In a setting like Star Wars, saying the planet is in the next galaxy over ends up being meaningless. It's just a new planet in a series of new planets, and it happens to be difficult to get to. It also breaks even the setting to some degree. Why even do it? PH says, I was invested in the Balon skull plot, and the portrait of Ray Stevenson will be very difficult to replace. Yes, it will be. I noticed the okay, I noticed that the stream said it was weak, but I think it's back now. Well, anyway, let's just take a look at this. What he was saying about plots equals events is not equal to story. So I tell you what. Okay, so I'm not using the notes here. Let's go ahead and remove this. I'll bring up. Whoop. Ah. Eh. There you go. I got a stack of stuff over here from last night. That'll have to be cleaned up today. Oh, ha. Frederick is here. Hey, Frederick. He says, I felt the show was meh. Yeah, it didn't inspire me. It didn't inspire me. So let's see. All right. So dynamic story creation. He says plot is equal to events, and that is not equal to story. He says, many new writers I've met over the years feel plotting is a system of organizing the string of events to create their story. This was certainly the case with me early on. So this is something that I had to break the habit of, because this is so true. Many new writers I've met over the years feel plotting is a system of organizing the string of events that create their story. That, my friends, is simply not what a story is. To be brutal, while it's true that a story is comprised of a series of events, you could not be more inaccurate in thinking a series of events is a story. Wait, you exclaim, how can the events that make up my plot not be my story? My answer is because it's not. And that's the second time you've interrupted me. But let's not make this a habit. Rude interruptions aside, let me grace you with an original story by the famed Maxwell Alexander Drake, one filled with events, conflicts, and questions for the reader to ponder. Let's see. I don't think we need to do that sample. That he gives an example of a sequence of events that are not a story and makes you endure it. But he says the character is an extension of the reader. When you create a character, what you're really doing is creating a shell for the reader to become. In reality, what you force your characters to experience, you're forcing your reader to experience. And if it's boredom, they're going to be bored. More on this in the next section. But I was going to say, here is the event-driven story. So what if you're trying to have events actually drive a story? In an event-driven story, which I think is not what happens here in Ahsoka. James says, plot is a 10,000-foot view. Events are a 100-foot. Story is on the ground. Oh, man, this should be the new volume. We include War of Art. Well, it kind of could be. He does kind of write like that he's got the relatively short. They're not all that short as the other one, but shorter sections. This could be one of the ones. Well, actually, you know what? I do think that he gives this example. Let's go back to where we were. Let's actually go through that. So he says The Walk by Maxwell Alexander Drake. Let's do this. I think this will be better. So this gives the example before we go on to the other one. The day had turned out to be a gorgeous one. A bright blue sky smiled down upon a warm spring day. Birds flitted about, and the city the man called home was abuzz with life. The man was out for an afternoon stroll, one he had foregone over the past few weeks due to the abysmal weather conditions that had plagued the land of late. But not today. Today was different, new, invigorating. The air smelled cleaner. The bright sun warmed his aging body. The city block he walked was much like the one found in any major metropolis. Tall buildings lined both sides of a wide boulevard packed with buses, taxis, and cars of every color in the rainbow. Shops of all types filled the ground floors of the buildings, with apartments above climbing into the heavens. To the man's surprise, it seemed the good weather had baited even the most recluse of tenants out to enjoy the day. Shopkeepers mingled with passers-by. Joggers slipped effortlessly between folks walking their dogs. Even the trees, which normally looked so pathetic trapped in their small square holes cut into the sidewalk, seemed to bristle with contentment. Yes, he thought, this is the type of day that will herald in great days to come. As the man walked down the street, left foot falling before his right, and then right foot falling before his left, he smiled at his neighbors, who smiled back. Life was good, and before he realized it, he had reached the first intersection. He looked left and he looked right, inspecting the intervening road. He could turn either way. Both looked inviting. He grazed across the street and down the sidewalk. There was nothing preventing him from crisscrossing and continuing the way he was traveling. End of chapter 1. All right, let's take a little interlude from our story, shall we? All in all, not a bad start, right? The story paints a good picture for your mind to conjure up. You should be able to see the city, the street, the people, and the cars. While not a lot is going on, the story pricks our minds to contemplate some overarching questions. Who is this man? Who is this city? Now that he's at the end of the block, what choices will the man make? Will he turn left, right, or continue straight? However, I bet the biggest question that's racing through most of the reader's mind at this point will be, what's about to happen to shatter their harmony? Dark, I know, and we'll discuss why. This is when we get to Act 2. At this point, while the story isn't amazing, the last question is enough for most readers to continue giving the story a little bit more time. Curiosity, as they say, may kill the cat. I'm going to assume that you want to see what happens next as well, and continue reading. Chapter 2. The light at the intersection turned green, and a small lit picture of a person walking appeared across from the man. Without further hesitation, the man stepped across the curb and into the crosswalk. On the other side, he found himself in a very similar environment. Tall buildings, cars and buses, people, and even those normal-looking, pathetic trees trapped in their concrete prisons were much the same as those in the previous block. The day had not suddenly changed with the crossing, nor had he expected that it would. It was still a beautiful, warm, sunny spring day. He was still surrounded by happy folk, all sharing the joys of the first nice day of the year. So the man did not slow his pace as he walked, left foot falling before his right, and right foot falling before his left. He continued smiling at all that he passed, and they, in turn, smiled back. A shadow stole the sunlight when the massive frame of an obese woman blocked the man's path. He frowned, a slight groan escaping his lips. "Good afternoon, Marge," he said, without a hint, or "Good afternoon, Marge," he said, without a hint of kindness. "Don't you good afternoon me, you scoundrel." The venom in the woman's words caught the attention of several of those passing by. We've still not come to an agreement. The man's shoulders slumped. "I know, but I'm not ready to speak of it just now." He waved toward the bright blue sky. "It's just too beautiful a day to deal with you and your issue." Without waiting on the large woman's reply, the man walked briskly around and continued on his way. Despite the woman's appearance, the warming rays of the sun soon washed the unpleasant interruption from the man's mind. Yes, he thought, the perfect day. And on a day like this, nothing can go wrong. Once again, before he realized what had happened, he reached the next intersection. He looked left and he looked right, inspecting this new intervening road. He could turn either way. Both looked inviting. He gazed across the street and down the sidewalk. There was nothing preventing him from crossing and continuing the way that he was traveling. End of chapter 2. Indulge me for an interlude, if you would, please. The story is going on, and there are still events happening. We've even built some tension with the introduction of the large woman. This is still a story, right? What do you suppose readers are thinking at this point? They still have all the questions from before, plus some new ones. Is that enough to keep them reading? For many, the answer is no. It falls back to the old adage of fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Still, when I would give this example in front of a live audience, you'd be surprised at how many people state they want to hear the next chapter. I won't bore you with chapter 3 in the pages of this book. Suffice it to say, the same thing happens as occurred in the first 2 chapters, some stuff. However, nothing that gives the reader what they're expecting, an emotional tie to the story. You know, everyone was willing to give the story. As you also know, everyone who was willing to give this story a third chance declared they wouldn't give it a fourth after reading a third chapter of, well, nothing. While this story may seem trite, it's the perfect analog for many series of events created by a writer who misses the point, which is how I felt with Ahsoka, which is the point here. Stories are not a series of events, but about how the readers affect the characters of the story, but how the events affect the characters in the story, and by extension, the reader. Oh, I need to highlight that. Let's highlight that. Stories are not a series of events, because this comes up so often in table talk, but about how the events affect the characters in the story, and by extension, the reader. If there are a bunch of events like lightsaber battles that don't have any consequence, you may have a bunch of series of events, and you may even, have tension, as with the obese woman here, because a dark Jedi drew a lightsaber on the hero and is upset and angry about something, and now there's going to be a fight. But if these sequence of events don't affect and change the characters, then no one's going to care, because the character is an extension of the reader. When you create a character, what you're really doing is creating a shell for the reader to become. In reality, what you force your characters to experience, you're forcing your reader to experience. In The Walk, I forced you to experience walking down a city street, something almost everyone has done at one time or another. I never gave you a reason to care about the man, nor did I ever hint at any life-altering conflict. The story leaves you unfulfilled because it didn't give you anything emotional to attach to. That's exactly what the reader wants, and why they're reading your book in the first place: emotional gratification. The omission of this element is why no one wants to continue reading my wonderful tale of a man walking down the street. While there are events happening and questions being posed, there's no emotional benefit for the reader, which is exactly what I was saying with this. Let's go over here to this. James says, this is so good, I'm going to ratchet it up in line for my reading. Hey, if you're doing NaNoWriMo, I saw some, actually, I got to respond to some people on the comments, because I saw some other people in the comments who were watching on replay. And by the way, hello if you're watching on replay. In fact, I need a sip of drink. Here's to everyone who's watching on replay. I appreciate you too. It's great to have you here. Here's to everyone watching on replay. And some people have commented about NaNoWriMo. So I think doing NaNoWriMo together is probably a good idea. And I would recommend at least taking a look at this book if you're planning on writing something for NaNoWriMo. So he says, to be brutal. While stories are about the characters learning, defeating, solving, or internally dealing with whatever needs to be dealt with in order to overcome the conflict of the story, it's how the reader is affected by those events. It's how the reader is affected by those events that make the story enjoyable. Readers don't care about the details of how a character goes about overcoming the obstacles in your story, nor what the character does next. What the reader cares about is why your characters do what they do and what effect it will have upon them and the world around them. Readers care about the emotional ramifications of the journey, because this is what they take with them after they finish reading your story. Oh, wow, this is so true. Readers care about the emotional ramifications of the journey, because that is what they take with them after they finished reading your story. This is a roundabout way of saying that a story is about the theme, the invisible layer. And we haven't talked a lot about theme on Table Talk, but we need to later. That comes up. But he's big on theme in here, and he's got a way of approaching it that I've never seen before and never heard. For a story to be successful, the writer needs to concentrate on the why and the effect of their story's theme, not the how and what of the events in the story. And that's the how and what of the events of the story is what so much of the Star Wars, it's beyond Ahsoka, I think, so much of the Star Wars TV shows, but also probably some of the movies, is about. Whereas they should have been concentrating on the why and the effect of their story's theme. In The Walk, I never focus on the reader, nor what they're gaining by reading the story. Instead, I've simply focused on describing the events that were happening. While The Walk describes a mundane situation, the effect would have been the same had I been describing a field of battling dragons. And people don't understand that. You can have the exact same boredom that you've got in that story, The Walk, even if you're fighting dragons. If the writer doesn't focus on the theme, they're not focusing on the reader. If they're not focusing on the reader, said reader won't continue reading the story no matter what's being described. It's that simple. So, right. So the theme, by focusing on the theme, you're focusing on the reader. if you are just describing a series of events, even though it's fighting battling dragons, you're focusing on you and your world building. Here's my sequence of events, my history and my world. And you care about that as the creator of the world. I certainly do. But it's by focusing on the theme that you're focusing on the reader. How do you focus on the reader? You understand that the point of view character in your story is not your character. They are the reader. Understand that the point of view character in your story is not your character. They are the reader. Actually, so that was a great passage. So character as a shell for the reader is next. But I thought about that. So that's what I was thinking about as I was watching Ahsoka. That idea about events not being a story. That's what we're getting. That's what we're getting. And some, and I said, that's why you care about those events if you're doing world building. And some other people will also care about those events if they care enough about the world of Star Wars. So some people will definitely care that much about the world of Star Wars to listen to a sequence of events because they care. But that's not everyone. Other people need the story. So let's see. Let me go back over here to the comments. Got excited there. Good morning, Inner Light. Good morning. PH says, I also think the new galaxy, where's my coffee? The new galaxy was underutilized. It was just a very distant place that normal hyperspace jumps couldn't reach. Yeah, you could have done that within the same universe and just had a reason why it's in some kind of like nebula or something that ordinary hyperspace drives can't get to, and why you got to do something special to get there. You could have done that. Galaxies aren't necessarily different, but since you're going to showcase another one, you could take the opportunity to create wow effects for the viewers. Yeah, that was exactly my point. It's true that, yeah, there's probably just a planet with rocks and grass on it in another galaxy. I mean, that you can believe that. But since you're going to all that trouble to make all the big deal of the other galaxy anyway, from the storytelling perspective, you should make it very different. Yeah, I know he is. I'm finding this extremely humorous. I like the Drake guy's style. Access Your Light says, this is a major point I've read in my fantasy novel. I've read in my fantasy novel writing books. Stories are about events that happen to the protagonist, not just the events themselves. Yeah, you're not just, the events are just happening, and the characters there to showcase them, like a living timeline. Eric Edson, a UCL professor, teaches how to fix this in Star Wars, and he's like down the street. 100% correct. The events are not a story. Events must happen to a character we care about. What is a story? Bad things happening to someone far away. We should discuss theming. Undiscovered Country is a big theming movie. It's got, yeah, I guess we have talked about it in the context of, now maybe we haven't done it enough in Undiscovered Country. We haven't actually just done one on theme, on Table Talk on theme, like we've done on structure. We've been very heavy on structure. We haven't been as heavy on theme. Big theme in the movie, because you're right, it absolutely does. The walk for me was on the nose and unimportant. Amazing insights, PH Arbeck says. You need the theme in order to contextualize everything else. One of the first notes I take from a film or book was what the themes are. And that's when somebody says, what is this about? The answer should be theme. Like, what is this about? It's about whatever the theme is. A lot of people, especially in high school and like college professors, tried to break the students of answering, what is Star Wars? Like, what is the original Star Wars about? What is the original Star Wars about? The answer should be regarding its theme. It's about faith versus technology. But on the much more surface level, the high schooler will say, oh, it's about the rebellion versus the empire, or it's about war, or about rebellion. No, it's about faith versus technology. Stimulationists like the events as they are, but most people prefer narratives or dramatist, i.e. story relationships. The second part of the Undiscovered Country definitely needs to get into the themes. All right, well, we're going to return to Star Trek 6. Doug actually suggested, because I was thinking that maybe we return to Star Trek 6 next Tuesday, but Doug actually suggested that the Battle of Mogadishu had just happened. Like it was 20th 20th anniversary. Was it is it 20th anniversary or what is it? When was the Battle of Mogadishu fought? No, it was longer than that. 30th? Must be 30th. Not 1993. I was like, can't be because it was not 2003, so you had to be 1993. You had to be 30 years. So we could do Black Hawk Down. And I do love that movie. I love Black Hawk Down. A man learning how to build a cabinet isn't a story. A man learning how to build a cabinet to house the ashes of his father who hated him is a story. All right. Well, all right. So I am going to go outside, do work in the house, inside the house, outside the house, pay bills, take care of business, a lot of stuff I got to do. And then that way, so I got to, and that hours before I talk to Brianna tonight to continue the critique of Dark Goddess, and then be back at the morning grind tomorrow and back at creative stuff tomorrow. But man, got to clean. Life will be better once everything is clean and refreshed for more creativity. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Please do like the stream. Thank you to everybody who is watching live and also watching on replay. I appreciate you all. I will see you tomorrow. Go be constructive, be creative, and grind on. Later.